Hello, social media friends. This is Evan. You know me as that dude from high school, or army, or college, or wherever. Alright, so I was watching the news earlier, checking in, see how the world's doing. Wow, not good. These past few months, the world's citizens have been collectively bombarded with images of violence and political protests and hate crimes, cop killers. There was another terrorist attack in France. Trump and Hillary are constantly at each other's throats. Turkey had a coup. Also, for every controversial thing that the media shows you, there's like 70 Facebook comments from each of you describing in detail your exact political opinions on any given topic. Everything is so polarized now that literally anything can be turned into a controversy. I swear, things that aren't remotely political in nature have somehow become extremely political. Even something as innocent as a fun little online game where you get to chase around little invisible cyber animals and then capture them and then force them to fight and beat each other within an inch of each other's life. Now that I say it that way, it actually doesn't sound so innocent. I gave up all that Facebook political nonsense. Not because I think I'm above it all or smarter than any of you. I just figured I didn't need to add any more fuel to the proverbial fire. This kind of thing, it's making all your apolitical Facebook friends like me feel super weird. It's like watching all you Trump fans and Hillary fans and Bernie fans all duke it out with one another. It's kind of like when you were a kid and you were visiting a friend's house and their parents were mad at them and then their parents started yelling at your friend and then you're just kind of sitting there awkwardly like... Look, it's phenomenal that you want to be informed. It's good for you to have opinions. Trust me, I get it that you're frustrated with the current state of affairs in the state/nation/planet. I'm not telling you to put your head in the sand. Lord knows my libertarian beliefs have caused me to have plenty of my own thoughts and a lot of stuff that you post online. But whether it's about how much you hate Donald Trump or how much you hate Hillary or how much you hate assault weapons, all these negative rants and inflammatory news articles that you're posting aren't doing anybody any good anywhere. So here's a crazy idea that I stole from a book. What if every time we felt like ranting about something negative, we took that and we created something positive instead? A lot of you out there want to go and make a difference. I do too. And I'm not here to tell you that your opinion doesn't matter as much as you think it does. Although, look, in order for us to make a difference, we have to be the difference. Hear me out here. I'm not a hippie, so sometimes I like to wear tie-dye. I know that it sounds sort of cheesy. Can you imagine how much happier we'd all be if we all just got on board with this? You don't have to ignore all the bad that happens in the world, but we should strive to focus on what's good in spite of it. Because there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. So starting now, I'm going to make good on that notion to make the internet more positive. I'm gonna hunt the good stuff. One of the only things I've ever really considered myself good at is telling stories. So if you're still with me, the first story I'm gonna tell you is about one of the most honorable soldiers to ever serve in the United States Army. His name was Sergeant Stubby. I'm gonna need some background music. Play me off, Ringo! Never mind, this is stupid. In 1917, U.S. Army Private Robert Conroy was training with his fellow soldiers outside of Yale University. While out training, Conroy found a stray mutt, something resembling a Boston Terrier, wandering around the university grounds while they were drilling. Conroy developed a fondness for the little puppy, who he named Stubby. When the troops finally shipped out for France, Private Conroy hid Sergeant Stubby inside his overcoat and smuggled the pooch aboard their ship. When the brigade's commanding officer first saw Stubby roaming around on deck playing with the other soldiers, he was none too pleased at first, but Conroy had trained little Stubby how to recognize the ranks on military uniforms. When the CO approached Stubby, the puppy threw up his paw in a little doggy salute. After this, the captain ultimately decided to let the dog stay, presumably because that sounds like the most flipping adorable thing in the world. Stubby was given special orders by the commander to accompany the Yankee division to the front lines on the Western Front in February 1918. Originally, the idea was to send him to boost troop morale, but the dog proved to be quite a valuable addition to the American troops. With his heightened sense of smell and hearing, Stubby became remarkably good at anticipating incoming gas and artillery attacks, warning the troops to take cover. After a period of heavy fighting, Stubby would run through the trenches and listen for the sounds of English cries for help in order to locate wounded soldiers. He would yap his little head off until the paramedics arrived. During one particularly daring endeavor, Stubby discovered a German spy mapping the layout of the Allied trenches. Recognizing that the man wasn't an American, Stubby growled at him. When the spy tried to run, Stubby chased him down and bit him on the booty. He held him there until the American soldiers were able to catch up with him. That's right. A Boston Terrier single-handedly was responsible for the capture of a German spy during World War I. That's awesome! After that adventure, the commander of the 102nd Infantry promoted Stubby to the rank of sergeant. He was the first dog to be given rank in the United States military. Sergeant Stubby went on to serve in 17 different battles. He was injured twice in that time. First by a gas attack, and then later by a shrapnel wound from a grenade. He made a full recovery and continued visiting and playing with other wounded soldiers. After the war, both Sergeant Stubby and Robert Conroy made it home safely, but the pup's adventures were far from over. Sergeant Stubby was well decorated for his heroism in combat, at one point receiving a medal from the Humane Society, personally presented by General John Pershing, who was at that time General of the Army. On various occasions, Sergeant Stubby also met Presidents Wilson, Harding, and Coolidge. In 1921, Robert Conroy, now retired from the military, began studying law at Georgetown University. Before long, the pup had become Georgetown Hoya's team mascot. During football games, Stubby would be brought out onto the field during halftime, and he'd play with the ball and nudge it around the field. In 1926, Sergeant Stubby died peacefully in his sleep, cuddled up in Robert Conroy's arms. Sergeant Stubby's remains are now on display at the Smithsonian at the exhibit called The Price of Freedom, Americans at War. I love this story because Sergeant Stubby came from such humble beginnings. Who would have thought that a stray mutt wandering the grounds of a college campus would later become such a courageous little hero? Sergeant Stubby found himself in a world filled with war and violence, but his loyalty and his love for Conroy and his fellow soldiers, it ended up winning out. Let's try and find that light when we're stuck in dark places. I'll see you later, guys.